everyone, it's Cathy Zielske back on the Simon Says Stamp channel with another installment of Easy with me, CZ. Today we are going to get 2 cards for the price of 1 big cling stamp. I love getting twofers out of any stamped image, and we've got a wonderful cling stamp to create some mini slimlines. Let's take a look at the products I'm using today. The stamp is called Party Balloons, and this is a large red rubber cling stamp with this wonderful balloon pattern. Now you can get all funky with this, but today we're going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to be using a rainbow of distress inks and creating a messy wash, doing a simple emboss resist with some white Simon fine detail powder and embossing ink. For my greeting, I'm going to use Let's Party, and I've got one more waiting in the wings. And I'm going to be using the mini slimline rectangles to cut out my card panels. For cardstock, I'll be using some Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper. Love this stuff, and that's what I'll be painting on. I've got my MISTI tool here. I will take the insert out, and I'm going to take my cling stamp and pop it right into the MISTI. This is how I like to use cling stamps. Place it right in there, just seal it down. Take my paper, right, which fits perfectly into the space, and I take a couple pieces of low-tack tape, pop it on the back of my paper because I've got the nubby side of the cardstock facing the stamp, and I pick this up with the tape and the MISTI door. I like to stamp by pressing my paper into the stamp, so I'll powder it up here with the embossing magic to remove all static and oil. And I'll ink up my cling stamp really well with my clear embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp. Once I've got that down, I'll bring the door down and then press into the stamp. I'll just run my hands over here, give it good pressure, and then I'll do it a second time because nothing has shifted, right? The paper's in the same place, and I'll stamp this down a second time to get a really great impression on that textured side of the Tim Holtz paper. Next, I will sprinkle on my white powder to cover the piece. I usually empty the whole jar when I'm doing this, and I like to do it just over a folded piece of paper. It's the easiest way for me just to quickly get it back in the jar. I'll let that sit for a second, and then let it slide off. And you can see where I have stamped, the powder has adhered. Next, I'll melt the powder. So I've got my heat tool nice and hot. And sometimes when I have a large image like this, I'll just pop it down right onto the same board that I usually paint on because it's just easier that way. I never do it right onto the mat because the heat will warp my little crafty mat underneath. But this will work to get all the powder melted as we prepare for the emboss resist. Now I'm marking off the area of the actual height. I want this because I don't want to not include enough room for each band of color because I'm going to use 8 colors in my rainbow. I've got some paper towel here and a clean jar of water and a dirty jar. Well, it's not dirty yet, but it will be. And all I'm going to do is, using those little pencil marks as my guide, create a messy rainbow of distress ink across the front of this card project. This is the easiest painting you'll ever do, right? You don't have to stay in the lines, you don't have to worry about those balloons, because you're just focusing on adding color over the stamped image. See, didn't even matter that I had a little splotchy blue there, right? Just good to go. We just paint. This is easy. Remember, easy with, well, it's easy. I do like to keep things as simple as possible, but I think what you end up with here is a really pretty, joyful wash of rainbow color. And here I get to include any color I want. I tend to use the same colors over and over again for my rainbows, but whatever color you have, like for example, Twisted Citron here, I always end up adding more and pumping up the colors and just keep going until it looks good to your eye. That's really it. And of course, you can find all the colors that I'm using linked in the supplies below. All right, finishing with purple. A lot of people think I have something against purple because I forget about it a lot, but no, I love it. We're going to let that dry completely. And while that is completely drying, I will just move on to the next step. Just making sure, yep, got enough for that one. And we got enough for a twofer. I didn't lie. We're doing the twofer. Now for the greetings, I also pulled this HBD, which if you're hip to the language, happy birthday. Thank you. I'm going to cut these out of some Neenah Solar White Classic Crest in the 110 pound, and I'm actually going to do 2 more cutouts so that I can glue and stack them together. Now I like to use a little box and this spray adhesive, and I do this off camera. I actually put the box at my feet to add that light coating of adhesive to the back of each of those die cuts, so then I can quickly line them up and glue them together to create that lovely dimension that gives that look of like, it's almost like you've made a custom chipboard. But I love the dimension, and so gluing them together for a stack of 3, just like that, wiggling it into place, and I will repeat that for the party and for the HBD, and I also have 3 apostrophes ready to go. I'm going to cut this piece in half so that it will easily fit through my die cut machine. Yep, that's going to work. And I'll go ahead and cut out panel number 1. Run that through. Isn't that cute? Oh, I love it. And I will do the same for the second piece. Twofer. Now to create my card base, this is a 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 panel, and I need to score it at 3 1/8. There's no official mark for 3 1/8, so I put a little pencil mark down, right? And then I can line that pencil mark up over in one of the grooves so that I get the perfect score for this card. Because when it folds down, it's going to be perfectly sized for the Slimline products that we have here at Simon Says Stamp. All right, folding it down, and I like to use my Teflon bone folder and give that a little press. And there you go. I have created card number 1, Mini Slimline, and I'll do a second one off camera. I've got some foam tape on the back of one of my lovely ink blended pieces, and I'll pop that up and look at that perfectly framed white space surrounding. Oh, I love it. I'll take my liquid adhesive, dab it on to the back of each die cut to position it. I thought I would place the party first, and I really like this at an angle too, because it just kind of adds a little energy. And then I'll get the let's, same thing, nestle that right in, just like that, and give it a good press down, just to keep it nice and adhered. Isn't that fun? And then I will take a little bit of glue, and I'm going to stack the apostrophes in place. I think it would be really hard to do those, separately and then glue them down. So when I have any sort of punctuation from a die set, I just glue them together in place right onto the card piece itself. And that's what it ends up looking like. To finish this card, I added a few shiny silver sequins, and that card is done. But here's the twofer. I took the HBD, popped that smack dab in the middle, and there you go. 2 cards out of 1 piece. The other fun thing, Simon has mini Slimline envelopes, and I love these little coin pocket style envelopes that your masterful mini Slimline creations pop right into, making the perfect envelope for your happy little cards. Thanks so much for watching today. We would love to have you become a subscriber to the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel, so hit that subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you back here with another easy card project soon.